And welcome back to Nancy's Neighborhood, folks. And I told you we're going to have a little session here to inform the public because we've had a whole lot of questions about something. And so I asked Kyle Page if he could be on with me today. Kyle is the principal at the Goal Academy, but he's also working on the development of the PIE Center for Bradley County Schools and surrounding school areas. And the PIE Center is Partnership in Education. Industry and Education.
Yes,
PIE. Partnership, Industry, Education. So I asked Kyle if he could be on today to just tell us a little bit, because so many people are saying, what is the PIE Center? What are you going to do with that building? What is? So just take off and tell us.
Well, thank you, Miss Nancy, for the time.
You're welcome.
First of all, to talk to you as well as the public. And we are really excited in Bradley County about what is getting ready to come into our back door. The old American Uniform Building was the largest employer in Bradley County for many years, and so that building has a great thumbprint to this community. And really what we're getting ready to do with it is design a regional workforce development hub. And so the better way to look at it is not as a traditional school, rather think in terms of the workforce. And so what we're going to be doing in partnerships with businesses and industries as well as education is basically create a one-stop shop. And so many of our students right now, you know, I always hear out in public, these kids don't know how to work anymore. These kids don't know how to work anymore. And we hear that from businesses, we hear that from industry, and I know how hard our educators are working.
Absolutely.
And I know firsthand that, you know, they are working very diligently, but what they're learning in school doesn't necessarily transfer into the workforce. And so what we're doing is creating an environment with the old American Uniform Building, now known as the PIE Center, where students will actually be able to come onto that site and work with for-profit companies to gain training by the company, not by necessarily a teacher that's working in the classroom back at our high school, but by the specific companies to begin to train them to get into that next step and build their relationships. So there's going to be a lot of different uses in that building. It's going to be a multifaceted use. We have different zones. We have a retail zone. We have a career residency zone, which would be known as the old, I guess, vocational schools is what many people knew them as, but kind of a trade type school in the career residency area, looking, you know, at plumbing, HVAC, electric, pipe fitters, those kind of things. That will be in our career residency zone. We are also working on a diesel mechanic school coming into there. We are aware of our location here in southeast Tennessee with all the transportation and logistics companies here, and nobody is training diesel mechanics. Diesel mechanics is a dying trade, and somebody gave me a number the other day of $181 an hour is what they're paying diesel mechanics.
Oh my goodness.
Now that could be on the high end, but I know that the closest diesel training school in this area really is Nashville Auto Diesel, and that's a private entity that's $40,000 a year. And our kids don't have any awareness about what kind of job that is and what kind of opportunities. Wright Brothers is coming in there, and they're going to start training students on heavy equipment operating, construction, how to shoot grade, how to do different things with construction, which is a very, very lucrative field.
It is.
It's hard work, but
good
it's
money at that,
a
too.
very lucrative field. We're also working with TCAT and Cleveland State. So as our students come over there, there are some of the programs where they can actually earn college credit while they're working with our businesses and industries. And so we're working through how that looks, but right now we did a pilot with Bradley Central High School, and a group of, I believe it was 23 seniors, took basically Siemens One training in their senior year.
Yes.
And I know one of our leaders in the school system, her own son was a part of this pilot, and he's coming out of his senior year with between 21 and 24 college credits plus his Siemens One training certification done. And those are the kind of things we're going to be able to do at the PIE Center. So they're not just working, but they're getting the hands-on training, the dual enrollment, dual credits, and it's really bringing everything together. Education is so compartmentalized, and we see our role, and I know Dr. Cash feels the same way. Our job is to get kids ready for jobs.
Yes.
And it's really the student's job to determine which direction they go, and it's our job as educators to train them up in what fits them. And so it goes back to an old saying in the Proverbs that says, you train up a child in the way they should go, and they shall not depart from it. And that's not a discipline passage. That's a passage that talks about training them up in their aptitudes and their interests and bringing those together to launch them into careers that they can be successful in.
Absolutely. And several years ago, everybody thought everybody needed a college degree. And so then now you have a whole lot of people that have college degrees that are bartending or doing this because what they got their college degree in was not
And that's
usable.
it is a travesty.
It is.
It is sad. I was reading something the other day about millennials that I think it's 30 or 40% of millennials do not ever see that they'll be able to pay off their college debt.
And that's awful.
And
I
that
mean,
breaks
really.
down their marriages. It breaks down their ability to have kids. It's horrible. And so if we can figure out a way to begin their training in high school and start working on those college credits in high school in those skill set areas, once we envision the PIE Center having the opportunity as we get ready to also have a STEM hub in there that will
Yes.
train machining, welding, robotics, mechatronics for our manufacturers. But I envision seeing a student that can take a junior and senior year and already start their college credits and get 2 years under their belt. And by the time they graduate, if they go on to a 4-year degree, they could use their Tennessee Promise to come out with a 4-year degree debt-free,
Right.
which is unbelievable.
And a lot of people, when we say megatronics and things like that, some of these students may go on to a 4-year degree in engineering.
Correct.
And things like that. So we're not discouraging kids from getting a college degree, but we want to offer to the other students that maybe don't. I know several years ago, Doug Berry at the Chamber told me, he said, if I had 40 welders right now, I could put them all to work.
That's exactly right. And I talked to Doug, in fact, as early as last week, and we have 133 manufacturing industry type jobs in Bradley, or businesses in Bradley County. And there's not a one of them that's not hiring right now.
Wow.
With that said, I want to go back to the zones. We talked about
Right.
the vocational zones.
Yes.
We talked about a retail zone. There's the STEM hub is going in there. We've also got a manufacturing zone. We're actually working with some manufacturers to consider putting a line in there so students can begin to understand manufacturing. We've got a commercial business area. We've got a restaurant zone coming in there. We have some high interest and we have some open conversations with a local affiliate here that just opened up a business on the north end of town and doesn't mind me saying his name, Mr. Brad Emendorfer. And we're working with them to look and see how this works as we start looking at training up our culinary kids.
Right.
So those kids that are coming out of Bradley that have culinary 1, 2, and 3 under their belt, now they can actually go and work in a for-profit business, get their hands in there and see what it takes to run it. We also have Chattanooga Center for Sports Medicine coming in.
That's exciting too, yes.
And Chattanooga Center for Sports Medicine is bringing a state-of-the-art rehab facility in there. And those kids that are going into the medical field that have interest, they will be able to actually see in sports medicine how to work, how to do, how the business runs. Also in medical billing, as well as just the operations. We've got doctors. There's 22 doctors in the Chattanooga Center for Sports Medicine Network that when we signed on agreed that they don't mind to help students see what they're getting into and if they want to go on to college, what track to take. So this is not just an old vocational school.
Right.
Or an old trade school. This is a very outside the box operation. There's really nothing in the country like this, Miss Nancy.
And it's exciting.
It is.
It is so exciting because not that we need Bradley County put on the map because we are on the map for several other things, but this is going to be so awesome for, it's not only going to be Bradley County students, but McMinn, Polk, Meigs.
and North Hamilton.
Yes.
This is a southeast regional approach. So that's one of the things that really has caught the governor's attention. And we appreciate greatly his support. He went ahead and wrote $1 million into the line item in his budget for the PIE Center because he believes in this.
Right.
And he saw the way we're bringing this together and really putting education in its lane. Education's got out of its lane for a long time.
Yes, it has.
When we started sending everybody into four-year colleges. This puts it back in its lane and it says, depending on where you need to be, that's where we're going to put you. And the governor that's now there he really believes in this, talked about it on his campaign trail.
Yes, he did.
And now has put his money where his mouth is and went ahead and written it into the budget. So we appreciate that support and also the support locally. Our county commission, the school board, we have had great local support, and without that, this isn't possible.
Right.
But I welcome anybody to you know, if we want to, anybody wants to sit down and have a conversation or have questions answered. I know there's been some questions out there, Miss Nancy, about, well, what kind of condition is that old building in,
Yes.
and those kind of things. Here's what I'll say. We've had engineers from Knoxville as well as Chattanooga through that building time and time, and their comments, and I've got the paperwork to show it, says they just don't build them like this anymore.
And that is probably very true.
If you've toured that building, there's not a single crack in an exterior wall. That building is settled, and there's not a single crack in an exterior wall. Any of the cracking on the outside brick is just fascia that's very easily repairable. You know, so it's things like that I think, knowing the building's been sitting and it's in a place where you get high traffic, people are kind of leery. But I'll tell you this, there is 281,000 square feet there. And that's an amazing facility with a lot of good steel, with a lot of good concrete.
Super
that
location.
we're going to be able to utilize with we couldn't do this without that location.
Right.
With the regional approach.
Right.
So there was a lot of design and thought process into where we're locating this building.
And I walked through the building 2 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And it was first just walking in the door and seeing the enormity of just that area where I was standing. I'm thinking, holy smoke, this is big. And then we kept walking and we kept walking and we kept walking, and then you go downstairs and there's all of that down there, and I'm thinking, we'll never fill this building up. But now,
the beautiful thing is I look forward to the community seeing how this building gets filled up. We already have some letters of intent beginning to come in.
I think that's wonderful.
And the building, the uniqueness about this, and it's hard for people to wrap their minds around it, but this is going to be a self-sustaining educational facility. Now, people don't hear about that.
No.
Normally, education is always asking for more,
Right.
asking for more, asking
Right.
for more. And I work in that, so I know. But the way we've designed this through the lease purchase, through the leases with the businesses, they are going to be not only paying for their cost of their interior build out. We're just providing a shell for them. They're paying for their interior cost of build out, and they're also going to be paying rent. They're paying leases. And that's the normal way of doing business out in the business community.
Every mall that has opened around here anywhere, they give you the white shell and you do whatever you want to in it.
And this is the exact same premise, but by doing it this way, those lease agreements generate the revenue to keep the total building operational, to keep the STEM hub state-of-the-art so our kids can keep trained on the best robots, the best materials, so they're ready to enter into the workforce a step ahead compared to anybody else in the state of Tennessee, and I venture to say the country.
I'd say you're right. Now, let me ask you this. Will our, because we have strong CTE programs, career technical education programs, in both of our high schools,
Yes, ma'am.
and I think Cleveland City does too. So will we be moving those over to the Pie Center, or will they stay where they are, or kind of a 50-50, or how are we going to do
Well,
that?
no, so there are only a couple of the CTE programs that we are moving over to the Pie Center.
Okay.
You will have welding.
Okay.
You will have your machining, your robotics, and your mechatronics that will move in there.
Okay.
Okay. Outside of those, and keep in mind, the early entry classes will not be moving over there.
Okay.
So the Pie Center will only serve junior and senior age students. So your freshmen and sophomores that are in those entry-level courses will still remain and get trained on their home campus in those early courses. But then when they hit their junior and senior year, they will come over to the Pie Center to capstone, to finish out their courses in those areas. And one of the things that we're excited about with this is right now we've got students at Walker Valley that want to go in welding, but that program is so expensive to get started. We're having to drive them down to Bradley in and out. Well, when the Pi Center is opened up, we will be able to streamline all of our assets into one facility around these very expensive CTE programs. And so both students from Walker Valley, as well as Bradley, as well as Polk County, hopefully one day Cleveland City, Meigs McMinn definitely, and North Hamilton, we can keep state-of-the-art design and state-of-the-art facilities for our students to receive the training, because so many people work in the Cleveland area from those surrounding areas.
Yes.
And our workforce needs them trained with the excellence they need.
And so many of our plumbers, a lot of the guys came back from Vietnam, maybe trained as plumbers, electricians, et cetera, et cetera. I know they came back from Korea and did that, and they've retired, and now you have your Vietnam guys that are retiring, and my age group is retiring, and so we don't have any plumbers and electricians and welders out there.
And this is the scary thing. And a wonderful man by the name of Steve Wright, who is actually building out space there to start heavy equipment operating. He said, you look around in my company, and very, very, very few in the age of 20 to 40. Most of the operators, most of those guys are 40 years old or older. And if we don't fill this pipeline, we're going to be in trouble.
That's exactly right.
So that's what we're looking forward to, is filling the pipeline, working with the Chamber of Commerce to say, what do we need in this community? What is it that we need to fill? Where are we at? And then the cool thing about the Pi Center is, as we get a pipeline filled and we get enough workers in that area, then those programs can shift out and we can bring in a different program to fill another pipeline. And that keeps our students getting into the job market.
And that is so awesome. And I know my son needed a college education because he's did not need to be a plumber, electrician, or anything like that. He's done better now that he has his own house. But I realize that there are students who do not want to go to college, or they don't know exactly what they want to do. And this is what I love about Center for Sports Medicine coming in, because those people, they can talk about, they can see how the coding goes they can do the PA work, they can do physical therapy work, they can see. And then if they want to be an MD, there you go. We've tracked right on through and decided I want a 2-year program or I want a 4-year program.
That kid's not just going and taking on debt and not knowing what he's getting into.
Right.
Or what she's getting into. They will know when they go into a career what they are getting into and what to expect before they ever go in and take on the debt of a college education. And you know, maybe not all kids have to take on debt, but I wasn't that fortunate.
Right.
And there's a lot of the kids in this country that aren't that fortunate.
That is true.
And if we don't do something different, we are setting the next generation up for a huge failure.
Absolutely. And that is not what education is about. And my producer has already said we've gone over time, but I don't care, because this has been a good conversation. And he's grinning at me now, because I probably need to get you on again, Kyle, as we get a little further into this, because there's just so many questions that the Bradley County residents are asking, like, what are you going to do with that old building, and how are you going to do anything with that old building, that I wanted to get you on today so we could talk about some of those things and kind of let some people know. Now, if anybody has questions for you or an interest in doing anything with you, how do they get in touch with you?
They can call Goal Academy, 423-476-0699. 423-476-0699, or they can email me at kpage@bradleyschools.org.
Right.
Either way.
All right. Kyle, thank you so much. And seriously, I'm going to get you back on, because there's so much more we could talk about. Folks, don't go away. I'll be right back if I have any time left. And Alex is looking at me kind of crazy right now. So if I have any time left, I'll be right back. So don't go away. Watch our commercials, support our sponsors, because they pay our bills. And I'll be right back.